What does it mean to be an effective missionary disciple of Jesus? A guard in charge of a lighthouse was given enough oil for 1 month, and he was told to keep the light burning every night. One day a woman asked for oil so that her children could stay warm. Next, a farmer came. His son needed oil for a lamp so that he could study. Another man asked for some for his engine. And the guard, being a very kind man, saw each as a worthy request. So he gave some oil to satisfy all. By the end of the month, the tank in the lighthouse was dried. And that night, the beacon was dark and 3 ships crashed on the rocks. More than 100 lives were lost. The lighthouse guard explained what he had done and why. But the prosecutor replied, "You were given only one task, to keep the light burning every night. Every other thing was secondary." So, no excuse. Temptation is a choice between good and evil. But perhaps even more harder than temptation is the conflict of choices between 2 good options. The lighthouse keeper in our story found himself in such a conflict situation. So also are the would-be followers of Jesus in today's gospel story. In such cases, the good easily becomes the enemy of the best. So we are challenged to say no to a good thing in order to say yes to the one thing necessary, which is God and God's will. Today's gospel is a sequence of 3 encounters with people who could have become followers of Jesus, but they were held back by ulterior motives and concerns. And each encounter highlights a different concern, and Jesus gives a treble demand on the prospective followers. His demands may seem cruel and contradict the works of piety. First is dedication, no matter the cause. The first incident involves a man who said to Jesus, "I will follow you wherever you go." But Jesus replied with an unexpected comparisons. "Foxes have holes, birds of the air have nets, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." In other words, his advice, before you follow me, count the cost. Because unlike the foxes and birds, I don't have such comforts and assurance for this life for my followers. The disciples must be ready to put up whatever the master put up with. And Jesus perceived that here was a man who valued financial security. Of course, it is a good thing, it is necessary to have financial security to provide adequately for ourselves, our family, or today for old age and financial health, financial care, health care. Yet, They should not become obstacles to our wholehearted, radical following and service of God. It is dedication, no matter the cause. Second is detachment from family ties, from the earthly relationships. The second incident is the man who wanted first to go bury his father before following Jesus. So it is common even today, cases, I don't know about Indians, Chinese, especially the elders, they find it difficult to convert. They have to wait until the father dies first, you see, because they have to do the funeral rites. So burying one's parents is part of the command to honor father and mother. It's found in Exodus 20:12. So this is a man actually with high moral principles, not a bad man, a good man, a man who keeps the law and is highly concerned for his religious duties. And this is a very good virtue. Family ties are very important, but when there is a God's call to mission, nothing can stand in the way. We got to obey. Jesus knew well that even family ties could prevent one from following and serving him. Or perhaps this man wanted to delay following Jesus and use his father as an excuse. But we must subordinate everything without delay in responding to God's call. Actually, the man in the story had stirrings in his heart to get out of his spiritual dead surroundings. If he missed that moment, he would never get out. In everything, sisters and brothers, there is a crucial moment. If that moment is missed, the thing most likely will never be done at all. And so Jesus urges us to act without delay. When our hearts are stirred, when we sense God's call, we have to respond here and now. Don't delay. Don't miss the opportunity. So the call to effective missionary disciples must take top priority, surpassing even the most legitimate responsibility, especially towards the family. So you really admire those foreign missionaries from France, from Ireland, so many of them, the French fathers, the Irish sisters, and in 𝐶𝐸𝐻, Sabah and Sarawak, all the missionaries who lived the country, they died in Malaysia. They really what I call a practice detachment from the family ties. Third, prompt renunciation. So finally, there is a man who wanted to go and say farewell first. Okay, I follow you. Wait, let me say bye-bye to my family first. Before following Jesus, he wanted to follow the example of Elijah, who has his family, who bid his family farewell before becoming Elijah's disciples. So again, this man has high social and family values. But Jesus' demand is more challenging. He demands prompt response and prompt renunciation. Before the urgent call of God, social and family concerns take a back seat, and no looking backward, no turning back to one's old way of life. As Jesus says, once the hand is laid on the plow, No one who looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. So sisters and brothers, we are talking of radical discipleship, and all of us Christians are called to radical discipleship. That is what it means, sisters and brothers, to be an effective missionary disciples of Jesus. Jesus will not accept a second place in our lives. Jesus will be first or nothing. Nothing should keep us from being an effective missionary disciples of Jesus. Something like what the prosecutor told the lighthouse guard, you were given only one task: to keep the light burning every night. To keep the flame of your faith burning always and everywhere as an effective missionary disciple of Jesus. Everything else was secondary. No excuse.